Exciting news, everybody. We have just agreed a deal to sign permanently the current Premier League top goal scorer joining in the summer. We're going places, boys and girls. Hello and welcome to Club 4, Part 19 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have two games in the Premier League. We're away against Watford and at home against Swansea. Look, my transfer budget's all gone and my committed spending on my wage budget's really big. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, since you were last with me, this is what our form has been like. We've lost the two games you would expect us to lose, but dominantly won the two games you would expect us to dominantly win. The Premier League table, and this is where you're going to get spoilers, currently looks like this. We're in 7th place with 8 games to go. The teams above us do have games in hand, but we have games in hand on the teams below us. We're looking reasonably good for a European qualification spot at the moment. But as mentioned, we have signed permanently the Premier League top scorer. Joint top scorer anyway. It's not this guy, not the guy at Man United. But Mirabella, who is now joint, by the way, Mitrovic, second top scorer in the Premier League, or third. But Mirabella, with the 4 goals he got against Brentford, is the joint Premier League top scorer. And we've agreed a deal to sign him permanently. And I am absolutely delighted. He's costing us £21 million. But this guy is 21 years old. We already know how good he is. We can see from this he's going to get much, much better. He's scored 15 goals from 29 Premier League games this season. He has had a cracking season. We've got a potential future world superstar joining us permanently for 21 million quid. Again, adding context to it, our goalkeeper, we spent £18 million on him. Last summer, I don't know why I put training on. Last summer, we turned down a £70 million bid for Simon Hall. And we've just got Mirabella for £20 million. I feel like that's the kind of permanent transfer that allows us to move on to another level. Mitrovic as well needs a solid round of applause. I know last episode was all about Liam Thorne, but actually Mitrovic has scored a goal every other game this season, and as you saw on there, he's one of the top scorers in the Premier League, so he is currently continuing to start at the moment, although Thorne is sat there down on the bench, hasn't scored again since his debut heroics, but has started a game. He started the game against Man City and struggled a little bit. He's definitely in my thoughts. We've sold Ollie McBurney as well. That's probably the other news. Oliver McBurney has gone to play in Saudi Arabia because, he was never going to play for us again with Thorne, and we just needed an extra little smidgen of cash to throw at Mirabella, and that seemed the obvious way to get a smidgen of cash. Without that deal, the Mirabella deal couldn't have happened, so that's why we've moved him on now, rather than waiting for the summer when we could have potentially probably got £7-8 million from a championship club for him maybe, but I thought it was more important to secure Mirabella now, which we have done. We've also tied Liam Thorne down to a longer-term contract as well. So this is the team we're putting out there for the Watford game. This is a big game. If we're serious about our Europa League aspirations, Watford are a team that we need to be able to beat. They were up in and around this area this time last season, but away from home at Watford, if you look at the games we've got left and try and pick out the ones you'd expect us to lose, I think it's probably fair to say, of the 8 games we've got left, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea are all a bit of a challenge. So if we're going to finish in a Europa League spot, we've got to beat Watford, Swansea, Stoke and Brighton, and then hope for a result from maybe one of those other 4, maybe a few draws in there. But Watford, we've got to win. And this is the team we're putting out there to try and do exactly that. We've got Lopez in goal, a back 4 of Sosa, Bakayoko, Mawson and Sessegnon, with 2 starters, our holding midfielder, Williams and Calderon in midfield, with Mitrovic up front, supported by Mirabella and Lucas Moura. Simon Hall is injured. Again, he's broken his back. It's not like a bad break of your back, but he has a lower back stress fracture. He's going to be out for the next month or so. He's already missed the last 3 or 4 games. Luckily, we do have Moura and Pepe who can play on that side. So we've got plenty of strength and depth on the right wing. But Simon Hall, it's really a miserable end to what has been a miserable season. He was so very good last year and so very disappointing this year. Hopefully, that's just part of the development process of a young player, and next year we get this Simon Hall back again. The flip side, the worrying side, is last season for Hall looks a lot like this season for Mirabella, and if Mirabella has the same kind of second season that Hall did, It's going to be £20 million well spent. The good thing is we spent it on this season's budget. So we've got a £20 million player coming in the summer, and it's not come out of next season's budget. So that's important too. Plus, I will play this match in a minute, but there's so much that's happened. I've also signed a new contract. I'm now on £28,000 a week for another 3 years. I'm committing to Fulham. They suggested a bonus for qualifying for the Champions League. So we have plans here at Fulham. All of a sudden, after maybe a slightly negative couple of episodes, I'm suddenly feeling very excited and positive. There's the prospect of European qualification. We're going to have 2 superstar wonder kids on our wings. We've got the two of the 3 top scorers in the Premier League. Everything's looking good. I imagine we'll probably lose this game now because I'm feeling too positive and happy. But let's go and thump Watford. As you saw from the schedule, we are beating all of the teams you'd expect us to beat at the moment, and we're beating them well. So fingers crossed that does continue today, without messing up our form. There you go, that's the one we want. They're 18th, we're 5th for recent form, and that's with 2 big defeats against Manchester City and Manchester United as well. I don't care about Sarri. All I know, referring back to my own beta save from a long time ago, is I hear he plays Jorginho out of position. Kev was proven right in the end, because I went on to win the Champions League and Sarri is now managing Watford in 2025. So who was really right about the best way to use Jorginho? Exactly. If you haven't watched my Chelsea series from like 3 or 4 months ago, now you can go back and watch it just to see what kind of mess I made of Chelsea's midfield. Right, why are we not winning yet? What's going on here? We're up to 6th as it stands right now, just off the back of scores as they are at the moment. That's obviously with 2 games in hand over Arsenal and Wolves directly above and below us. So let's not get too overexcited. But realistically, I think 6th place is a position, if results go our way, that we could aspire to finish in. But as I said before, if we lose against Watford, it's probably going to be a tall order to qualify for Europe at all. And what we might find is we end up with an 8th place finish for the 2nd year in a row. I think were Watford the team that pipped us to the Europa League spot, to 7th place last season? I think they were. Now I'm thinking about it. Mirabella, his first game since signing permanently. Obviously, he's not officially here permanently until the summer, but the deal went through in the last 3 or 4 days. He's furious that we're now not. He thought he was signing for a team that was going to challenge for Europe, and here we are losing away at Watford. 2-2 with the cross and Calderon just over. Pineda, by the way, the reason Calderon's in the team. Pineda is injured again. He got an injury, I think, in the last episode, was just about recovered, and then picked up a recurrence of his injury. He's now aged 29, and I am wondering if we just don't bother bringing him back on loan for a 3rd season. We've got the option to sign him permanently for £9 million, I think, but I don't know. Perhaps there's going to be better options out there than Pineda when it comes to the summer. That is assuming we have any money to spend. Now I've splurged all this cash on Mirabella. We really do need to find a way back into this game. Let's demand more. Come on, gentlemen. Let's sort ourselves out. Pepe's there on the bench as an option to come on, as, of course, is Liam Thorne, who I think we're going to bring on now, because Mitrovic isn't having the best of games. Thorne is there, ready to come on. Poor old Freddie Power, after looking like he was finally breaking into the team, has fallen down the pecking order again. And is there anyone else we can bring? Pepe seems like a sensible one to bring on to try and make a difference as well. So let's make him inside forward and really go at him with a fancier looking front line. I think Thorne, this is the kind of game where he needs to get a couple of goals and start to establish himself as a top star for us. But in actual fact, he's frustrated. Right, we'll just play this corner, and then we'll decide if we need to do another change. Calderon looked like he was swimming in the lead up to that, but that is Liam Thorne, and he's just scored. It was Thorne, wasn't it? Of course it was Thorne. Lovely header from the corner. It's a great corner from Calderon. Thorne is there. An aerial presence that we don't yet have in the team. Thorne, as he was developing, certainly when he was down at Forest Green, was an out-and-out target man. He's since learned to play as a complete forward, but he's still 6'5" and still going to be a massive threat from situations like that. 6'5" with pace. I mean, talk about complete forward. Goodness me. Right. What can we do as our final change? We've got Cullen, we've got Freddie Power. I'm actually thinking Freddie Power for Mirabella might be the change to make here. Freddie Power has pace to burn, and Mirabella's not had the best of games. So let's get Power on for the last for the last 5 minutes. Let's show some passion for those 5 minutes as well. A draw probably in the grand scheme of things isn't good enough from a game like this, because there's so many games we're still expecting to lose for the rest of this season, because we don't seem capable of beating the real top teams. But as it stands right now, with 7 games to go, we are in 6th place, but with a massive asterisk for games in hand for other teams around us who we've still got to play as well. So I don't want to get too excited about being in 6th place at the moment, but I'm a little bit excited because that's awesome. I'm going to say that wasn't good enough though. That was, like we said, it's a match we had to win, and we've bottled that a little bit. We now need to make sure we do win. We've got to win Swansea, and we'll do that now. Right, couple of changes for the Swansea game then. We've got Horta coming back into the midfield at the expense of Calderon. We're also going to be starting Liam Thorne after his equalising goal off the bench in the last match as well. So fingers crossed we can see our first good performance from the start from Thorne. He's had a couple of good performances off the bench, but his one start was that game against Man City, which really was probably the wrong game to give him his full debut in. But I'd like to think against Swansea, especially when we owe them after last time, but after a 17th place against a 17th place Swansea, sort of roughly equivalent standard to the kind of teams Thorne's been scoring against all season, you'd like to think this is a game where he can probably have some fun out there. And if not, we've got Mitrovic sat there on the bench, who, as we all know, is a hero, and I won't have anything said bad about him. Can't believe for so long you lot were telling me I needed a striker, you monsters. I always had confidence in what I had here. Right, Horta, ball over the top for Thorne. Thorne is in, and oh my word, I think he had a little bit too long to think about that one. He seems a little bit more effective when they kind of just hit him. He hit that very hard, but really not very accurately at all. But we've won another corner, and of course we know he's very dangerous from here as well, because he's an enormous giant. Corner comes in and doesn't get anywhere near the enormous giant, which is a bit of a shame. Imagine getting a player like him come through your youth team in real life. 6'5", clinical finisher, although you wouldn't know it from what we just saw. 6'5", clinical finisher with a decent turn of pace. He's young and he's English. How's it taken us this long to get him in the team? Who's been this lad's manager? Why has he been sent out on loan for so long? My word. Fingers crossed he starts to fulfil some of the potential that he does seem to have. But 20 minutes in, and we're not really showing any kind of oomph here against Swansea. Sessegnon picks the ball up at right back. It's another one of these weirdly long highlights. Mora running down the right hand side, beats one man, beats a second man, kind of runs into Thorne, finds Williams. Williams from the edge of the area scores an absolute beauty for his 10th goal of the season. Obviously not all for us, but any concerns we had about him never having played a Premier League game before he signed for us, I think we can probably put those concerns to one side now. Age 28, he's decided he's a Premier League player. I think that's his 3rd or 4th goal for us since signing in January, and he's a properly important part of our team now. So don't be put off if a player's never played at your level. He might be exactly the player you need, and that's what we've found with Joe Williams. We're 1-0 up with half an hour on the clock, but Swansea do have a free kick here, but Lopez collects it. I want to say comfortably, but he almost did carry it over his own line as well, and that would have been very upsetting. Toussaint now, dropping back in that half-back position to Bakayoko. Mirabella now, not really got much room to do anything here, but finds Horta, who has got space to show a little bit of a turn of pace. Finds Mora, cross comes in, Thorne's in the middle, as is Mirabella. It falls to Sosa, Sosa crosses to Mirabella. It's goal number 17 for Mirabella, and I don't know if that lad at Man United's still scoring goals, but that might put him out as the lone top scorer in the Premier League from the left wing, age 21, and he's our permanent player. He's brilliant. Look at that. He's the Italian modern Cristiano Ronaldo. Is that a thing? The amount of goals he scored as a header, drifting in off that left-hand side. We said it about Simon Hall last year as well. If we can get both of these players playing at top form consistently with a potential fulfilled Thorne between the two of them, that could be a Champions League front three. Right, let's assertively say we don't want to let performances drop. We are doing well to be 2-0 up, but we want a goal for Thorne, a goal or two for Thorne, and we want to just put this game to bed. The easier games, we've been winning 4 or 5-0 recently. This should be one of the easier games, and a couple more goals isn't going to do us any harm, especially when you look at those teams around us competing for 6th and 7th place. We actually have a better goal difference than all of them. They have that advantage of having games in hand over us still, but we are scoring plenty of goals when we win our games. Right, Thorne is going to come off. He wasn't that impressive, really, was he? Mora is going to come off as well. I mean, it wasn't more than, 2 or 3 episodes ago I was moaning about the strength in depth and then criticising our January transfer business. I've changed my tune completely. The fact that we can bring those 2 players off the bench at this stage of a game, we have got some very good strength in depth now. And those players who did come in January, and I'm counting Thorne in that number to make it look a better window than it was. I might count Mirabella as well. But I think the January transfer window, in the end, is looking a lot better than I thought it was on first inspection. Williams is a superstar. Pepe's very, very handy to have knocking around. Carter Vickers exists as well, or you wouldn't know it from looking at any of our team sheets. But he was cheaper than Moore. Who else did we sign? There was another one, wasn't there? Mora, of course, who started this game and has meant that we're not even missing Simon Hall while he's been out long-term injured, because we've got Mora and Pepe to come in on that right-hand side. Who needs Simon Hall? We do. We need last season Simon Hall again with Mirabella and Thorne. That's my dream front 3 now. All 3 of them, 2 or 3 years older, potential fulfilled, looking like world beaters. That's how we get into the Champions League. Right, let's passionately say it was a nice win. Well done, lads. Let's have a look at what the rest of the run-in is. I think our next episode is just going to be those final 2 games of the season. So we are in 6th place as it stands. Arsenal are probably uncatchable with 2 games in hand and 4 points on us. Tottenham behind us have actually played the same amount of games as us, but I guess it's Wolves and... No, Huddersfield have as well. So really it's Wolves. So we've got 3 points on them, but they've got 2 games in hand. Do we play Wolves in the run-in? We don't. So, Arsenal we do, though. Interesting. I think we're not going to get into the Champions League this season, obviously, so I don't think we need to focus on any of this too much. I think we'll just come back for those final 2 games of the season, Tottenham and Chelsea, and fingers crossed we'll be securing, or have already secured, a spot in the Europa League for next season. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.